Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. Rob Williams is the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and its Offside Sports vertical. Rob, the hockey guy on Twitter, and he joins us from the newsroom. How are you?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
Good.
Start you with the Surrey Mitsubishi poll question because, if I'm not mistaken, Blake, it wasn't that long ago. Rob was telling us, look, Tocchet still holds the market in the palm of his hand, right? Things have turned for the coach, Rob. What do you think? Do you think he'll be back next year?
I mean, I think he should be. Absolutely. I think he will. I think he's got the confidence of management, and quite frankly, is this group going to get another coach? They were a tire fire under Travis Green. They were a tire fire under Bruce Boudreau. But now they can't play for Tocchet either. I see that the tide's turned a little bit on social media. I don't know if it's a majority of fans. I doubt it, but there's definitely a loud portion of the fan base that's getting increasingly louder, and they're pointing the finger at Rick Tocchet and saying that his system is part to blame for why the Canucks have struggled this season. And I don't know. I just don't buy it. I just don't see blaming the coach again, as a solution to this, and going with yet another coach heading into next season.
What about him? Is he done here?
I know. I've heard what people have said, like, okay, he just go work for TNT or whatnot. But I don't know. Has it got so bad? Has it got so hard that he say after 2 years, like, no, that's it. I'm getting out of this place. I think Rick Tocchet's a competitor. I think he had that fire last season and saw the energy of the fan base at Rogers Arena for playoff games. 2 goals away from making it to the conference final. To me, this is I think for a guy like Rick Tocchet, he's not going to pull the chute right now. He's going to meet pressure with pressure and stick around.
So, his system was not a problem last year when they were winning. They're not winning as much this year, and you have more and more people who are upset with the style of Vancouver Canucks play. We got a drop in from Gillis last week here, and you will remember, Rob, that Gillis set out to play an offensive, entertaining style of hockey. It's a commercial enterprise. Our job is to entertain these people who are paying significant ticket prices to be in the building. And sure enough, Alain Vigneault followed in tow, and they produced some very exciting teams. Now, I checked attendance this week, and the Canucks are still top 5. And you can quibble with me and explain to me, edify me that, okay, it's not quite all that it seems in terms of what their percentage of tickets sold is this year. But do you think this market needs a more entertaining style, or is it just about winning? If they were just to start winning at the rate they were winning at last year, nobody would have an issue with the style of play. Nobody would have an issue with devoting their time or spending their money on Canucks hockey.
I mean, ideally, you'd like to have both, but if you have to pick one or the other, it's wins all day. I think this market is astute enough to know, if they're seeing a fun or a boring product on the ice, but wins matters. Winning is fun. and I think that above all will take precedence. So it's one of those things. If you're going to play a lock it down style and not generate too many shots on goal, as they did, as you recall in the Nashville series, having a hell of a time to put pucks on net. Hey, they won the games. People didn't have too much of a problem with it at that time, and that was to an extreme. I I just don't see this as the system. Like, I think you can quibble with parts of the system. I don't think they have the defense core to be, doing too much that's dazzling on the ice right now. But I don't think that this is something like, is their forecheck so demanding, like so much more demanding than other good teams in the league? Like, is this something that you just can't expect Canucks forwards to carry out on a game in, game out basis? I don't buy that. The biggest part for me is we've seen this team play fun, exciting hockey under this system. So why can't they do it again?
Under this guy, but I think I'll quibble with you under this system because I think he changed the system. He ratcheted up the system midway last year. So under this guy, yes. But this isn't what they were playing, 14 months ago, right? He had yet to really instill what he wanted out of them.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rob, though, with regards to if you have to pick one or the other. I could see a world, we know what Vancouver is like, kind of a fickle market, where if you get so accustomed to winning and success that people would quibble more and more about the style of play. But I think coming off a decade of despair, people were happy with winning last year. Their attendance is slightly down this year, 0.3% as of last week, but it still remains very strong.
It's below the average of a women's hockey game.
The rest.
Well, it's also the fact that they jacked the prices up like nobody else after last season.
We've talked about this.
Maybe there's a bit of karma at play in this season too, guys. We can't discount that.
Fair.
We've talked about this cocktail of reasons why they are, and there's multiple reasons why they are where they are. But from a fan base perspective, what do you think people are most frustrated about? Who are they most frustrated at, if you will? And it could be the players for their lack of performance, i.e. Miller and Pettersson. It could be management for their, for the blue line that they thought was good enough. Where do you think they're directing their ire if you really took a poll?
I think the person, nobody's getting it more, I think, than Elias Pettersson. And to be quite frank, for good reason. It's been a year of this where he just has not looked right.
Noah did a deep dive on this, didn't he? Noah Strang.
He did, yeah. And he hasn't been himself for, close to a calendar year now. And I think people are not happy with Miller, but I think there's more maybe uncertainty given the leave, given he looks like he's playing it doesn't look like he's playing at 100% health to me at the moment. So I think that he maybe gets a little bit more of a pass, but I think if you talk to kind of Joe average Canucks fan on the street, they'd be looking at Elias Pettersson. And to be quite frank, we're talking about, can you score in this system and can you play exciting style in this system? We're more than halfway through the season. Connor Garland, who's supposed to be on the third line, is outscoring Pettersson, Miller, and Boeser this year. And that's great for Connor Garland, but that's also an indictment on the Canucks' three top offensive forwards that they're trailing behind. And if you look at them on the ice, who's trying harder than Garland to win right now, and not just right now, but all season. So to me, Pettersson's the guy, and he's making the big paycheck right now. He is their most talented forward. Where is the production? What is bothering him at this point? Is it can't be the tendonitis at this point, right? We're into a year of this, and still waiting. He showed the flash in Toronto, and he was pretty unnoticeable in Winnipeg. So you can't have that, and I think that's part of the messaging we're hearing from Tocchet about, it's hard to, as he said after last game, it's hard to do all these things game in, game out, and you can't just do it once in a while. I wonder if part of that's directed at his highest paid player.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is.
Remember last year, early January, they went on that East Coast trip. Pettersson was spectacular, scored the incredible goal at MSG. came back, and that's when the bottom dropped out.
Yep.
Per Noah, Jan 15 of last year to Jan 15 of this year, tied for 39th among NHL centers in points, tied for 48th among NHL centers in goals.
JPAC commented he was actually a star of the month for January. Like, he did enough through the rest of January, but it was come February where, yes, absolutely, the bottom fell out. Interesting comments from Nick Kyprios that he thinks that Brock Boeser, the Canucks cannot afford to keep Brock Boeser, basically afford to keep their own rental at the deadline. He anticipates a Boeser move. We've heard Darren Dreger tell us that he thinks there's a big decision one way or the other coming with Boeser by the trade deadline. What's your prescription here, Rob? What do you think? Do you think Boeser will be a Canuck?
I mean, if you look at the evidence right now, there's not much evidence that they really want to keep him. I mean, I thought it was very interesting over the summer. Management took they came right out and said, we're going to take effectively said they're going to take a wait and see approach. They wanted to see, I guess, he had the blood clotting issue in the playoffs. So maybe they wanted to see how he bounced back from that. He's been, other than the head injury, I mean, he's, played in a lot of games this season, performed, I don't know, reasonably well, not amazing, right? But like on pace for 30 goals. He's not like 20 goals. He's not 40 goals like he was a year ago. So I don't think I don't think Boeser would expect to get paid as a 40 goal guy, given he's only done it once in his career. To me, this would be the perfect recipe for, talking extension. And hey, maybe his expectations are totally unreasonable and he's trying to hit a grand slam and prices himself out of what the Canucks are prepared to do. But, we're not hearing very much from the insiders right now on Boeser and the Canucks and extension talks. So, and we didn't hear a lot about it in the summer. So like, when are they going to talk, or are they just not really interested? Or are they waiting for that pressure point of the trade deadline? It's less than 2 months to go to the deadline now. And I think the Canucks need to decide. I mean, they got a big decision ahead of the deadline. And I think a lot is going to depend on how this team performs. Like, given what we've seen so far, like, do you think this team can turn around and go on a long playoff run? I mean, maybe, but I'd like to see a little bit more from this group before you start, really doubling down,
Yes.
In the playoffs. So if that's not going to happen, are you just going to hold on to Boeser and let him walk for nothing? Or do you try to do something to get some assets back before the deadline? It's going to be an intriguing decision because he's a very popular player in Vancouver.
Yeah. If you don't believe in this team this year, or this core group, core being a little bigger than just the big four, then the prudent move is to move on Boeser. And the question there is, do you think he could fetch you the top four defenseman? I think he probably could.
But what team that wants to acquire him has surplus top four defensemen heading into the playoffs? Like, I don't see that equation. A future top four defenseman, yeah, maybe you can get that. But a current one, which is what they need, oof, I don't know.
I mean, maybe you try to recreate the Bo Horvat trade, right? Where you trade Horvat, get a first round pick,
get assets and flip.
Get the assets that you need to spend on a top four defenseman and do it that way. That I think that's an option. But again, it really depends on the pressure point of how badly do they need to make the playoffs. Are you, when they traded Horvat, they were, in a different position in terms of the standings. Are you in a position now where it would be tough for them to just say, we're trading Boeser for a, prospect or first round pick, and then go into the playoffs short their best goal scorer and then try to do it in the offseason. It might be the smart move. It might be the best move long-term, but that'd be a tough move to make, when you're staring at a playoff spot that's right there for the taking.
Unless you don't believe in this team. And we'll see. We'll see what judgment the management group casts on this group. Needless to say, if they're keeping Boeser and they're looking for that top 4 defenseman, they still have some belief. If they're willing to move Boeser for futures, it's pretty clear it's the other way around. Great stuff, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Great to hear your voice again. See you, and we'll catch up next Thursday.
Thank you very much.